Hey guys, it's Miss Sonatore. I'm staying inside today because it is a rainy day, but I'm inside the office ready to share another awesome story with you guys. I want to start our video with a great big hug, just letting you know I miss you and I'm always sending my love from here to you. So let's actively listen as I read a funny story today. So my story today is called Moosetache. Notice he's a moose. Get it? Moosetache? Oh, I almost forgot. I can't read this book without my moustache. How do I look? All right, here we go. This is Moosetache. I'm gonna read the words and put the pictures close to the screen so you can really see them. Moose had a problem. A horrible, hairy, prickly problem. It grew right between his nostrils and just above his upper lip. A moustache! Now, not a few spare hairs or shy little stubble, no mere weak wandering whiskers on the upper lip of this moose. No sirree! Moose had a big, bushy, bristly, mighty moustache, but a moustache that was a burly, surly, mangy mess. And it itched a lot. Sure, he plucked and he tweezed and he even clipped, snipped, and teased, but his combs were still cowards and his brushes rebelled, his scissors simply surrendered. Moose was in a frizzy tizzy. The moustache was completely cramping his style. He was a great hoofer, but he could barely bop and hip-hop with a moustache going flip-flop. He was a wonderful chef, but he simply could not flambe his souffle with all of those whiskers in his way. And he was a daring skier, but how could he downhill race with the mighty moustache blowing in his face? Moose had to do something, and soon. But what? After days and days of much serious thought, Moose got an idea. He crossed some hair here, he crossed some hair there, and he tied his moustache around his neck. A moose scarf seemed to be the ideal answer to his problem. It was so simple, it was so easy, so perfectly perfect. But then his moustache got knotted and mangled and horribly tangled, and those hundreds of hairs still prickled and tickled. Worse, Moose could barely take a breath with all that moustache wrapped around his neck. So Moose untied, unwrapped, unknotted, and gulped in some fresh air. He got another idea. He parted some hair this way, he parted some hair that way, and he heaped all the moustache on top of his head. Moustachioid antlers seemed to be the ideal answer to his problem. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect, until a squadron of squirrels and one very nosy gopher moved right into the Moose Motel. They huddled and hoarded, furrowed and burrowed out. Needless to say, it became quite crowded up there on Moose's head, and heavy and messy. And very, very noisy. The squirrely chitting and chatting, squeeze and squawks woke Moose every morning before the crack of dawn. And that gopher was giving the moose one hairy headache. Moose needed to sleep. He needed to rest. He needed his privacy. Moustachioid antlers? Nuts, said Moose. So he unparted and unpiled, untwisted and untwined, and said adios to the hairy horns. But now what? What? The miserable moose took hold of a hunk of hair and wrestled it. He roped it, he tethered it, tied, tamed. Aha! A moose tail! Now that was so simple. That was so easy. That was not so perfectly perfect. Talk about a dizzy do. Moose didn't know if he was coming or going. Backward, forward, this way, that way. He didn't know which end was which. Moose had to bail on the tail. And so he thought, and thought, and thought some more. But no other idea was a worthy winner. Braids were a bother. A Moosetache sweater, too sweltering. Net, not. Poor Moose. His problem was truly terrible, unbearable, just downright sad. He felt so alone. He didn't know what else to do. Then, call it fate, call it destiny. But one day, Moose tripped on his Moosetache and just had no time to duck. Oomph! Pardon me, they both said as they bumped. Then they blinked, and they stared, and their hearts went thumpity-thumpa. She was a moose, with a big, so bodacious, outrageous, well, it was just plain old big. Hair after hair piled higher than high, a sky-scraping dew of glorious curls, a tower of swirling twists and twirls. She was simply splendid, stupendous, absolutely superb. Of course, Moose had to ask how she did what she did to get such a do. Miss Moose wrinkled, then whispered, "Just a little glue." So she helped as he fearlessly plunged a hoof into a fat pot of the white gooey goop, and carefully, oh so carefully, they glopped, and they plopped, and they pasted, and they pressed. They coaxed and curled every truly unruly wayward whisker. Around and around they tweaked and twirled those horrible hairs until Moose's once mangly mess now was a wondrous winding wave of marvelous moustache. Moose gazed in the mirror and smiled, a broad, moosey smile. He was so happy, so glad, just giddy with glee. He looked dashing and handsome. Moose gushed, "Is that really me?" With not a care from one hair, the moose pair boogied and bopped. They skied downhill, even uphill, and their cooking was hot, hot, hot. So, of course, it wasn't long after that Moose and his Moosetache and his beautiful bride foxtrotted and tangoed and waltzed down the aisle. Good hair days, bad hair days, they vowed to love and cherish, and with hearts heaped with love and pots filled with goop, they both sighed, "I do, glue," and promised to never part. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect, and it stuck. And that is the end of our story, Moosetache. I'm glad it worked out. I understand where Moose is coming from. It's a little bit hard to deal with a moustache or a mustache like me. I didn't forget about our plant that we planted outside yesterday for Earth Day. We're gonna catch up and see what's up with our plant tomorrow. Hopefully it'll get some nice, it'll get a nice dose of water today with all the rain, and I can't wait to see it grow. Again, I love you all. Let me know what you think of my mustache. You think I should wear this forever? Maybe. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.